Mississippi State. Hands of the buster yesterday. Super takes it for a good game. Super. I know you're going to do that phrase. It's just the way how's it going? I like where your mind is.
Like where your mind is. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. I am your sensei, your griot, and I'm here to tell you a story. And it is. Play a little something. Where's that speaker?
Been holding down the carousel, ready to kill him 12 times. Screw, I understand that.
Coming out of your warrior and warrior. You parents of Darcy.
Well, that doesn't work. Now that's one of the limitations of this place. Is, there's lots of people not wearing masks. And so there's one person there that's AI. Hey, AI. Self-forgiveness.
So that's how we met. And so that's, I know, how random is this? So that's how we met, and then after one night talking on Facebook, I'm like,
Talking on Facebook.
right? Like, Johnny Carson, you can get his autograph later. Maybe. Right?
I work together, Johnny's my church.
Anyway.
And Amy's Jeff's boss. Amy's Jeff's boss, really. It's him working for them as well. Okay. So because we didn't like that, we bought your house. Yeah. So our daughter tried out.
Forgiveness.
We have like tryouts.
Forgiveness is a major thing that is love.
Oh,
you know what?
It was
I tried
like,
this.
oh yeah.
No?
And I made my sister. Yeah, so, part of me. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I really
this might
like
not
it.
look so classy.
Anybody there yet?
Just say hi.
Well, Amy was. It's her lifesaver coming here because honestly, like if we do a 7:30 class for her. I was walking in the office in our other house, And you're the phone, and I can tell you talking to someone driving around.
Here we go. Okay, let's try this.
Anytime the all the houses are like, and checking the road there for Melody Drive and checking the neighborhood and how far to go. Are you serious? You were having this woman? I had not met you. You were having this woman right around here. No, she was mentioning
This is most people's lives, right here. See?
this house is good, but
Completely
driveway is not.
fugazi. Forget about it.
Like to even look at, although.
Do-do-do. Da-da-da-dee.
By the way, she actually didn't know. She didn't know they didn't know about the contract. We found out from her. No.
There it is. Again. Testing. Try this again.
Where? I lived here for over 2 years now, and all these places, like Seven Devils, Gator Ridge, Cat,
When you first came to me, you asked me how I was able to heal Jonathan Pangborn. I didn't. He channels dimensional energy directly into his own body. He uses magic to walk. Personally, he had a choice: to return to his own life or to serve something greater than himself. So I could have my hands back again. My old life. You could. And the world would be all the lesser for it. I hated drawing power from the dark dimension. But as you well know, sometimes one must break the rules in order to serve the greater good. Mordo wants to get that way. Mordo's soul is rigid and unmovable, forged by the fires of his youth. He needs your flexibility, just as you need his strength. Only together do you stand a chance of stopping Dorman. I'm not ready. No one ever is. We don't get to choose our time. Death is what gives life a meaning. To know your days are numbered. Your time is short. You'd think after all this time I'd be ready. Look at me, stretching one moment out into 1,000, just so that I can watch the snow. Secret heart, why so mysterious? Why so sacred? Why so serious? Maybe That's the name for the Attaboys. I don't really do anything. Nothing but take down a terror cell ready to kill untold numbers. That was all Agent Mulder. That's not how I understand it. I'm told you kept that boy alive. That you kept him safe from harm. I translated a few words. It was all you and Agent Mulder. Remarkably, I did nothing. And remarkably, it worked. Although I'm at a loss in explaining it. Maybe some things are unexplainable, Agent Einstein. most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious, the source of all true art and science.
That's beautiful, Einstein.
Yes, Einstein, as you said it, Miller. The real mystery here is your behavior. Bringing Agent Scully down here without bothering to consult me.
Remarkably, I did nothing. It was you who abandoned me, Agent Einstein, for the crazy train.
And never again, Agent Miller. Though something is clear to me now as a result of the experience.
Now you have an open mind.
The nature of reality. I'm now convinced that words and ideas do have weight. The weight to move people to do the most psychotic things.
Giving someone magic mushrooms.
I was talking about Agent Mulder.
I've been trying to do it right. I've been living a lonely life. I've been sleeping here instead. I've been sleeping in my bed. Sleeping in my bed. So show me family, all the blood that I will bleed. I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I went wrong. I can write a song. I don't know.
Talk to me, Mulder.
Where to begin?
Why didn't you tell me about your little scheme?
You were on your own mission. You would have never bought that.
You're absolutely right. I have to applaud her, though, on her clever trick with the placebo.
Yeah. How did that work?
Wonders never cease with you.
I saw things, though, Scully. Powerful things. I saw deep and unconditional love.
I saw things, too. I witnessed unqualified hate that appears to have no end.
How to reconcile the two. The extremes of our nature.
That's the question. Maybe the question of our times.
Scully. This whole thing has got me thinking. Thinking about God.
You, Mulder, thinking about God?
The angry guy with the Bible. Tower of Babel and Babylon. Scattering people violently so as never to speak a common language.
Punishing man for his hubris.
Well, that lesson didn't stink. But the anger sure remains.
It's the same angry God as in the Quran, ordering death to the infidels.
What exactly is this God saying? Worship me in my great anger?
Oh, that's a good question, Mulder. One for the ages.
Well, think about the immense power in those prophecies, the power in those words to convince young men to put on suicide vests today and murder for their angry God.
And what are you getting at?
Those boys, they just swallow the pill. That's the power of suggestion.
Is this received wisdom from your magical mystery tour?
Yes, courtesy of the shrooms, something else, something that trump all hatred. Mother love. I refuse to believe that mothers are having babies just to be martyrs. I want to believe that mothers have a greater purpose for all of us.
I agree. A child is not a tool to spread hatred.
Where's the hatred then?
Maybe it ends where it began. We're finding a common language again. Maybe that's God's will.
How do we really know? He's absent from the stage.
Maybe it's beyond words. Maybe we should do like the prophets and open our hearts and truly listen.
Previously on the X-Files. The countdown has begun. Alien technology being used against us by a beaten conspiracy of men against humanity. It's all part of a conspiracy dating back to the UFO crash at Roswell in 1947.
How can we help you, Mr. O'Malley?
I'm rattling some pretty big cages in the intelligence community, but I'm prepared to blow open maybe the most evil conspiracy the world has ever known. I didn't know how my work would be used.
They removed your unborn fetuses. They do everything through here, even with the DNA.
Tell them about your DNA experiment.
I have alien DNA.
For sure. They police us, inspire us, tell us that makes us safer. We've never been in more danger. Do something about it more.
What are they trying to do?
That's the missing piece. Testing yourself for alien DNA.
I sequenced my own genome because of my history, because we have a child together.
Are you saying you have alien DNA?
I'm saying someone has to stop these sons of bitches. With their DNA, science acquired in the 50s, given to them. Alien DNA, mixed with our DNA. It's not quite so simple.
That's excellent. Just be quick. We don't have a lot of time.
No, what do you listen to? You're listening to the X-Files. And Chris Carter, obviously, is part of the Inside crowd, was basically giving the 411 to everyone who watches TV when he started doing the X-Files in the late 80s, early 90s. And when he stopped, and then there was a hiatus of about 10, 15 years, he had other shows. You know, he had Millennium, which is about, you know, the coming of the year 2000. And that was quite good until last up. He also had a thing called the Space Force. Exactly what's out there, right? And when Donnie said, we're making a Space Force, well, they already have it, right? It's called Breakaway Civilization. So, boo, 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 boo. So I guess it was about 2014 or 15. Chris Carter made two little sections of the X-Files. You know, what happened to Mulder and Scully over that hiatus? They had a kid, a lot of other things. And so it just jumps right in, right? And it's just like the X-Files of the old, but scaled up to today, right? And so they had 8 episodes, I think 16 altogether, 2 blocks of 8, right? And you should go see them. You know, look them on the internet, X-Files, you know, 2014, 15. Go look up, you know, because the pandemic, I mean, it goes on about they had this 3 episodes that are right here, right now, and they did it like 8 years ago. So, go take a look. And I played a little bit of it for you. But that first part, and so those 8 episodes or 16 episodes weren't all about the smoking man and the cabal and the aliens. They had other little episodes spliced in, just like, X-Files always did. And the one that you heard in the beginning, where he's talking about love, why people can sacrifice and be loving, and why can they, strap on vests up. And they try and explain that, right? And so that's what that was about. And the first little glib was from Doctor Strange, and his master is telling him, you're the best student I've ever had, and I've been around for thousands of years, but you're going to have to learn one thing. And he goes, what's that? It's not about you. And that's what forgiveness is about. That's what love is about. It's not about us individually. It's not about me. When you're thinking about me, not the we in me, then you're not really there, right? So, dee 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 dee. So, what can I say? I'm here in the Keys. I flew down in my superhero spaceship, and I'm in Key West, and I'm in a bar here in Key West, and I have my Key West outfit on, And so, anybody saying anything? Say something. Okay, I'll say something.
You're behind everything. You are behind everything.
Boo doo doo.
You're behind everything, Amy. I don't believe you.
Yep, there it is.
You are Amy's behind. I just told it.
So,
Oh, I just picked up the wrong person.
da da da, ba 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 ba. 22 minutes and 22 seconds. Good. The crowd is going.
Well, he has to use a different email because he doesn't have access to his email.
Be a little more safe.
He did. Oh, he's like your email or something.
Put my earring back on over here. Yay. So, I guess I'll have to use this little earring when I'm in this place. It's just too loud. Da 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 da. Is someone playing the trumpet out there? Not only in Boone, but that's kind of cool. Where does that little trolley car go? Okay. That makes some sense. Do you think you could turn down the television a little bit? It'd be nice if you could control individual speakers.
I know, because
Right, that would work nicely. So what do you study?
you were talking to me the last time you were in.
Oh.
I'm studying public relations and advertising.
Oh. Well, you got a mask on, I can't see you.
Yeah.
You had the Navy shirt on yesterday? No, that was somebody else.
It might have been someone else. Yeah.
Right.
I was in yesterday, but I don't remember seeing you come in.
Right. There's another person who was doing the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Interesting. I wonder who
And
it
you're
was.
the one who wanted to be, you're Kay, right?
Yes.
Right.
Kendall.
Kendall. The one who loves theater.
Yeah, I do ballet.
Right.
Yeah.
So who are the other dancey girls?
We
Yes.
actually got quite a few dancers in here, but it might have been my roommate, Julia, or Macy, perhaps.
They had the skin tight pants on?
I really couldn't tell you. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
you forgot already.
It's okay.
So I gave December a proposal of something you ladies could put together with my help.
Oh yeah. Like
Yes.
what?
Oh, a nonprofit. See, what I was telling December is, why don't you drop those off and come back?
Okay, can
Because
do.
because, you know,
Just a little bit. We saw the sun come out. Passing rain shower as well.
All right.
Their possession so far. Good goals the last two times.
Da-da-da.
Outside, then running inside where they start thinking. It's Michelle returning to the lineup for 8. Now the Raiders are in trouble because they made a concerted effort to shut down the inside run game. Hold it, keep it, so they're tough. It's too early to go away from that right away. Walk up through, break it, break it, and then he's going to adjust a little bit. He's going to figure out the corner runs. Now they have a little bit of both. When they start getting both,
Well,
take it out to the 35. He's running hard as he's seen some carries. It's that simple. They keep running outside.
so Kendall, did you have a yellow bow in your hair yesterday?
That was Callie.
Callie.
Yep.
She
Really sweet girl.
she working here tonight today?
Yeah, she's working here today. She's a food runner, so
Oh.
you'll see her going back.
Right. But she had her hair just is like
Yeah.
yours.
Cute.
Right. She looks, like a cartoon character.
Yeah, she does. It was December.
Yes. But anyway, I gave December this document that she's going to copy and give you a copy of,
Okay.
right? And so it's a nonprofit entity that's based on culture, because the only way things can really change is through culture, not through politics or economics or even religion, right? Because culture really cuts straight. You see, Shakespeare gets to your heart. Any of that, right? Painting, photography, and it's actually the thing I designed is actually for universities. I want to develop a thing called the Freely Inquiring Society, right? And that's what a college should be,
Right. Definitely.
right? So you started out as a club, and then you turn it into a like there are institutions and universities, sororities, fraternities, and societies, right? So you turn it Freely Inquiring Society, right? Freely meaning open, not free like it doesn't cost anything, but you got to put your heart into it. Inquiring meaning to understand, not to like be any specific thing, but to understand. Society is a community, right? So you set that up here. Even after you leave, it'll still stay here, right? And then you get, and I want to take a thing on the road called the Traveling Video Art Circus. We go to colleges and we plant the seed of that society and all these things. Then because of the internet and the YouTube and all these other platforms, we can use their platforms until we develop our own that can't be hacked or chopped up or you taken off.
That would be awesome.
So and I wrote a proposal
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll talk to her.
and have her, she said there's 5 to 8 of you ladies who so when I had that printed, I went to the copy shop and they only did, they just put it in the machine, push the button, and it was on both sides, so they only did one side. So all the odd pages got printed, all the even ones didn't.
Oh, okay.
So it's blank.
Yeah.
So what I want you guys, you read the first page, number 1, where 2 would have been, I want you to write a paragraph of what you got from that.
That's a good idea too.
So all of you guys can fit on page 2 and page 4 and page 6 and page 8 and 10. So go with that little idea in your mind and come back when you got more time. Do. So do you like the hospitality business?
I like the ways.
But do you like the dynamic of the people coming together and
Yeah, definitely. I have a really good time, and it's a good thing to at least have experience in because people always need servers. So it's helping with my stress management, that's for sure.
So one of the other things is a thing called the No Fear Cafe, a part of this. So whenever we cruise into a town, we find a space, start to know that's the base of operations, right? And it's a cafe, it's a nightclub, it's that, and the people who work there own it,
Okay.
right? So they get more than you getting, right? And so, and control of it. But they don't own it forever, only while they're working there.
Oh,
The next group of people who start working there own it.
okay.
And that's true capitalism, you know,
Yeah, totally.
right? So there are a lot of those ideas in there that I want you ladies to mull over.
Okay, we'll definitely be talking about it. Don't worry. We'll check it out all of us.
So you only work here on the weekend?
No, I work here all week.
Oh, it's the other K who only works here on the weekend.
I don't think there's another K. We have Carly.
Carly, the one with the cartoon girl.
No, that's Callie.
That's not a K?
No, they're both C's. I know, it's confusing.
Anyway, so that's what I do. I cruise around. I find an interesting place. I plant the seed. Right? I don't try to push anything. I just plant the seed. They need help. I'm always here. So forgiveness, right? You heard me playing that thing, forgiveness, and that's where the success of humanity comes from, is love, right? Someone just messaged me, and the name of their thing is "People Are Really Mean." Well, they're not. People aren't really mean. People are kind of made to be mean, not by the creator, but by our society. In hand, it pressures people. When you're living in a psychopathic society, it's hard for them not to be psychopaths. It takes, but it's the challenge. That is the sandbox that when we, were tricked out of, Garden of Eden. We this is what we got. Egocentric, narcissistic world. Even though it's still the Garden of Eden, Earth is a pretty nice place. It still is the Garden of Eden. So. Like, this is my own little brew, isopropic alcohol, tea tree oil, and a few other aromatic, all the zines of the plants. And anything that's like peppermint and eucalyptus and tea tree, they are all very vibrant and help heal. Do. Hey John, I'm on live chat. Come on, join up. Tell us why it's better to be nice than mean, and why you think people are mean. Okay? Send that. Do 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 do. Sent. Do do do. Hey B, I'm in a place that I can get a phone call, and I'm live on my Dreamy Dreamland YouTube channel. Why don't you come and join the YouTube? Okay, doke. That was a very strange group of people there. Robert. Keep up the good work, buddy. You know that I'm not able to send you messages and call you on the phone because I'm out in the middle of nowhere, right? So, but every now and then, like right now, I can receive a message. So I'm going to try and give you a phone call, actually. And I'm on the live chat on my YouTube, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. Well, who else is here? Oh. Do do do. Do 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 do. Do do do. Oh, look, there I am. I'm waving to myself.
You see Harry walking down the field.
So, Blue Waters, where are you at? In my neighborhood? You in the South, up in the mountains, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, West Virginia? Where are you at? If you still have my phone number, give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. I'm live on the chat right now, so where you could drop in and say hi. Hey, there's Uncle Plugnuts. So I'm talking about forgiveness today, and that it's one of the more important things in the human dynamic. Mhm.
Pass over to Edwards
Mm. Anyway, let's see. 40 minutes and 18 seconds. Bugnuts, what's up, buddy? Let's see what you're saying here. Uncle Present. Nice hat, looking good. Yep. A friend of mine gave me this. So this is my new ceremonial hat. So how's the pandemic striking you? How's the universe going on around you? So are you old enough to remember when things were actually worse? I mean, I am. The 60s were not fun. They were pretty harrowing. 70s, on the other hand, they were pretty fun, but everybody was poor. We had, that was the beginning of the economic collapse in 1970. Jimmy Carter, 76. I mean, the Nixon thing was just a distraction. Nixon did was nothing compared to what Donnie has done. I mean, really nothing. Nothing. Right? So, and we were just prepared to accept, right? And they had to get rid of Nixon anyway because he was the guy who, up until Richard Nixon, we were on the gold standard. Our money was backed by gold. And that was part of Bretton Woods agreement that was kind of put down between the Spanish-American War. And that's where it started, that's where it was written, but it was kind of manipulated and manufactured into what the post-war America was going to look like. Because they knew, Spanish-America War and all the other wars, the Civil War in Spain, the thing that Italy did in Africa, which got the Nazis into Africa to go after the oil. It was a reshaping of things all the way till Ronald Reagan, right? And then Ronald Reagan was this benchmark where, let's see. I'm chopping peppers in the kitchen at a pizza place in Massachusetts. Okay, that sounds fun. Where in Massachusetts? I used to live in Worcester. I also used to live in Somerville in Boston. And I used to live in Rhode Island on the beach. So and also Vermont, Putney, Vermont. And over there were Mount Moosilauke and Washington, the presidentials. I lived over there near Dartmouth. So, where in Massachusetts? Worcester was, that was a weird, I mean, what college is in there? I forget, but that was that. Let's see. Monmouth Street. Okay. I know where you were at exactly. Like I said, I was living in Somerville. To go to a prep school in Winchington, Massachusetts. And we would never, it was like a jail for the uber rich. We got there just around October. We went home for Christmas, about 4 days before Christmas and about 4 days after New Year's. And then we went back to school, and we would get out of school in May because we would go to school 7 days a week, 7 days a week. Like even Sunday, we'd go to school. So we put in so many hours, and we were there, and we would go to school from like 5 in the morning till dark 30. So, we got a lot of hours in. And we had really small classes, about 7 guys to a class. And we lived in dorms with it was like a mixture of Daddy Warbucks meets Hogan Heroes meets, what was that movie, Prep School Boys with Mark of Mindy? Anyway, it was like that. So it was interesting. So I would fly home. The bus would take us from school to Logan Airport, and virtually everybody but me would get on a private jet. And this is in 1966, 7, and 8, right? And so I would take the whatchamacallit, the Eastern Airlines shuttle from Boston to New York. And every time I took it, I kept meeting this very attractive stewardess. And attended school with, yes, I attended school with Joseph Kennedy. And Robert Kennedy actually landed the family helicopter on, because the school was a golf course, landed there. So Joe Kennedy, the one that was Robert Kennedy's son in the middle there, I think he became a congressman. He was my roommate. I used to listen to him masturbate all the time, And I also, he followed me. I first went to Canterbury, which was, the Harvard for prep schools for Catholic boys, because you either became a a priest. That's where I was going. I was going to be a rocket scientist for the Pope, or you were going to become a business priest. We were Catholic, and we wore the black dress, and which was great because you didn't have to clean your clothes or even wear anything underneath. You would just throw it over. Half the priests didn't, and they would rub their privates up against the weak young lads. And I'm again, remember, everything I say, don't believe. It's just a story. Time agree on it, right? So I don't represent any political faction or religion or anything, because I don't believe in anything. I do believe in love, and now I go past belief into having faith in love, meaning I never doubt God's unconditional love and forgiveness. And that's kind of what this story is about. And yes, Joseph Kennedy. And Joe was, it was really interesting. And the whole Kennedy family were gangsters. Look at, Grandpa Joseph Kennedy. And, he was an Irish gangster of Boston, right? And then he went into the stock market and used the gangster mentality to become a zillionaire, and then he cleaned his act up because he wanted his kids to be in politics, right? He bought himself, here's an Irish guy, that goes and becomes our representative at the court of England. So you're back. A little second. So you put that paperwork in a safe place?
Yeah, it's in my purse. Callie and I are going to run to upstate and make
copies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I gave Callie a little more 411 on what is in there. I gave Callie a little more 411 on what's in there. And that whole thing is a process of you taking over the school in a almost viral way.
Okay.
Schools have sororities and fraternities and societies.
Right.
And the Bay Society is the Freely Inquiring Society.
Okay.
You first started out as a club,
Yeah.
because you can do that pretty easily.
Right.
And then use the schools, go find the teachers in the humanities department and whatever department who will want to do this with you.
Right.
And then you make it a society, because once you make it a society, you leave, it's still there,
Still there, yeah.
forever. Then we have a thing called and in that, its major project is to have a thing called the No Fear Cafe in school. You find a place that used to be, right, and you make it the cafe where anybody can come in and talk to each other and not feel scared, right? And the people who work there basically own it. When they leave, the next people who work there own it.
Okay.
So it's like you owning this place. So instead of just getting tips and $3 an hour, you would get $20 an hour, right? And so that's right back. But it's all in that piece of paper. Okay, she'll read over. Let's see what they do with it. Because I've done it in a lot of colleges, and what's sad is that I can get a group fired up, and then they're not very good at firing up anybody else. And that's part of the problem of organizing, right? So back to my story of Eastern Airlines shuttle. So I basically, the first time I saw her, I was I guess a sophomore when I was flying home for Christmas, and she said, and I had this card that was bought through some tourist agency through the school that I had X amount of flights on the Eastern shuttle. Which I just, it was really nice. I go to the gate, you go clip, sit in that right there, and you'll get on in about the next 40 minutes. And I could take that shuttle anytime I wanted, right? So it wasn't, a scheduled ticket, right? And because it was like a bus, and the people who paid for it in advance, the airlines like that. So the first time she was on there, and it was Christmas time. I think it was the second time I took. No, it's actually the first time. Sophomore year, Christmas, I see her, and she goes, "Okay, she starts giving me these little bottles of booze, and she goes, "Here," and a glass of soda, and she goes, "Just pour it in there, and don't let people, don't do it too." So she just gave me that, right? And she gave me some food that nobody got food. And so she, there's hardly anybody on it. So she sat and we talked the whole time. And she goes, "You're a very interesting guy. I've known a lot of guys, nobody like you. And there's a thing about you that I am really connecting with." And she goes, "So when are you coming back?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, sometime, I have to be back 3 days after New Year's, but really," she goes, "Well, is New Year's a big thing for your family?" "Not really." I said, "I'm kind of invisible to my family." And so she said, "Well, why don't you, after Christmas, middle of that week, come back and stay with me? I'm going to have off from, 2 days after Christmas to 2 days after New Year's. I'll be here, it'd be great. I could show you around Boston and we could have a great time." And I was, how old are you when you're a sophomore in high school? Maybe 16, 17, probably closer to 16. And so, I went home, had Christmas, instead of visions of sugar plums in my head, I was saying, "Wow, there's an older woman." And she was about 23. And she had wild, crazy red hair. And so anyway, and she was Irish as you could get. And she had studied, she wanted to be a diplomat, right? And she went pre-law and international law. Hey there, Sandra. Good to see you. And so, we became a thing. And that was I think my first, affair to remember. Meaning every time, we would talk and we choose a letter writer like I was. So it was great. I mean, I'm locked up in this prison of a prep school for the richest people, their kids on earth, which was a very interesting thing to go to school with, the Shah of Iran's son, the Kennedys, you name it. People who owned Seagrams, the people who owned U.S. Steel, the people who owned this and that. And they were so rich, they didn't pick on people. And they screwed up so bad that they had things they could be like holding their head down. I mean, we all got thrown out of other schools. I did it in an amazing way in Canterbury. They still talk about it. Ruth B. Ginsburg, she was notorious, or she be. I was a notorious Al Bob there. And so, but my airline stewardess, fair to remember. So for the next 3 years that I went to school there, I would either not go home right away and stay a few days with her, and on the way back. So because my parents, didn't even know I existed, so I had nothing really to do in New York, like see my grandma or some other people, my other mentors. I would do that in a day or two, celebrate whatever holiday it was, and then go see her. It was great. And then, she was just a car ride up, so she would ride up and come to school on Sunday and say, "I'm his aunt." I go, "Yeah, that's Auntie." And I'm going to take him out for the weekend. Is that okay? And they, sure, get rid of him. And so she did that a lot. So especially in my junior and senior year. And there was I played lacrosse, and I'm not a big sportsman, but I'm very good at whatever I'm interested in. And I had a really good coach in my swim team, and the second coach was a lacrosse coach. And so I really, my swimming coach won a gold medal in the Berlin Olympics in 1936, and he was Jewish. And the Nazis tried to kill him, and his roommate was Jesse Owens. So that was my coach, and he was coaching us when he was in his 80s, and he could swim better than us. He swam. He was a diver, a platform diver, and the pool that we used was the town pool built in the 30s, and so it had platforms. So, he would go up there to 7 meters and go into the water and not make a ripple. So my whole life has been, just one amazing situation after another. So that's what life is supposed to be. That's why I'm a lucky bastard. Because I'm my, intent. I breathe in through my nose and out through my nose. And to do that, you have to be conscious of it, because otherwise you're just going to keep your mouth open and drool and be like a fish, And even, did you know that goldfish have a longer attention span than human beings? The average human being's attention span is 7 seconds, right? The the goldfish attention span is 9 seconds. And a goldfish's cousin that comes in a little bag that you eat that's pretty crisp, those goldfish's attention span is as long, for like 90 months until you eat them. So 58 minutes, 59 seconds. So all through my life, I've just, stepped into it, and everything I did was to celebrate the love of God. And the love of God wants to have a good time. God is a good time guy. And there's a real difference between joy and fun. Fun is kind of distraction. If you look the word fun up, it's distraction. Back in the day when I was a minister of fun, I used it as a mechanism to distract people from the other people who are trying to do the right thing. Right? So that's why I became, sensei, right? Sensei of joy, and joy is this process that we do with the creative force. And that's why I'm always talking about love's co-creation, because love is God. And I don't like using the word God because it has too much historical luggage, because you take it all the way back to Sumerian, and it represents balls of God. That was a pretty nasty dude, and that's kind of why the Old Testament God's pretty wrathful, because the Jews kind of picked that up because they were held in bondage by these guys as slaves, and so they tried to turn that the bondage god into their god, so they could use that badass god to go after their enemies. And just look at Moses, 40 years in the desert. I mean, he was just next door to you know the land of milk and honey, and he never went home. And he could have gone there any day, just like all of us. We can go home anytime we want, as long as we put joy in our hearts. Right, Sandra? What do you think of that? Putting love in your heart instead of meanness. People. Someone commented. Their website is people are mean. People aren't necessarily mean. They are children of God. They are children of joy. It's just that we live in a sociopathic society that manifests meanness, and so people think they have to be, dog eat dog. I'm gonna get mine before. We don't live in a, I get mine over the fact that you won't get yours. Everyone can go home, and everyone. We are meant to all get what we want, need, have. We don't have to be abused, oppressed. And people experience that. Now, I've lived in all around the world, and I've lived all around the world. Like I lived in Ireland when the troubles were going on. I lived in London when the troubles were going on. It was like, that's why London is one of the most, closed circuit TV. I mean, they had every nook and cranny of that city covered by computers, and now they got the Chinese technology of most of us live in countries that have credit ratings. China has a social rating, and that's what pandemic here is all about, to force us into a place where we're going to have to live under the Chinese mechanism. And so what do you think, Sandra, about living your life in co-creation with love's joy? Anybody else? Uncle Fugnuts? Or any of the other four folks? Anybody else want to say something? Or tell a story, So why that airline stewardess was such a good one? Because every moment we were together was joyous. Because I wasn't her boyfriend. She was never going to marry me. But I was a guy that she connected to more than anybody else. She said the only other living thing that I connect to with is my dog. And her dog was in her house, right there. And she goes, this dog, the only thing this dog loves is me. He wants to, because he was maltreated and mistreated. She goes, when I met you, and then I suggested you come stay with me because I wanted my dog to check you out. Because if my dog liked you, then I knew you were what I thought you were. And not just, you're playing a scam. I couldn't believe that a 16-year-old could out scam me, because this girl was. So, and she couldn't get any kind of worker. She wanted to get go to the UN and just be a helper person to meet people, right? Couldn't get a job because she didn't know anybody. And she came from a poor Irish family in Boston, and but she was smarter than virtually anybody I knew. I knew some pretty smart people, but she was right up there. She was the smartest 23-year-old I ever met, So, and we kept our friendship even after I left prep school and went on my journeys, And she and I experienced. She had gotten involved with. Because she, it's pre-law. She had gotten herself into Harvard Law School, which was, amazing in 1970, whatever that was. I guess it was 1970. I guess, yes. Anyway, when I came back from the West, I guess in 1971-ish, No, I was on my journeys. I wasn't quite out to New Mexico yet. That came later, probably in 73 or 4. But in the early 70s, 71, I was just trying to keep away from my draft board. And I went to college a little bit. And so I stayed with her a little bit, because no one knew I never talked about her. No one even knew that because I didn't have a driver's license, didn't have any kind of mechanism to follow me. And so she, we traveled a bit because she had a car.
Hey, now.
Always good. Is that your cocktail?
I wish.
Do they let you drink on station?
Oh, no. No. Can't do that one.
Then why work in a bar? So so she had a great dog. He was a pit bull. He was a Rhodesian Ridgeback, which are dogs that are bred to fight lions. So pit bull and a dog to fight lions. It's almost as big as a lion. It was like weighed 100 and tall. Standing, he came up to my hip. And so he was almost 3.5 feet tall, standing on all fours. When he got up, and he could stand up on his hind legs and like get right in your face. And he was about 7 foot tall when he did that. So, and he was a pit bull, so his head was this big. He had a mouth that could like bend steel. But he loved me. He loved to crawl in my lap, get upside down, and have me just scratch his tummy. He just loved that. And we would walk around Boston because she would go off, after I got out of school and I was hiding. I stayed a good deal with her, and then she'd get 5 or 6 days in a row and we go take a trip. Sometimes we get on airplanes, right? And she got me a Eastern, pretend name and a pretend ID. And we would go on, flights all over the place. And that's what kind of got me into the Caribbean. Is that we went mostly to the Caribbean, especially when it was wintertime, Caribbean. And, we would go to St. Vincent's, St. Thomas, all the American ones, so you wouldn't need a passport. But then you could get on ferries and go to Tortola and the British Virgin. They were such little countries. And, you were on a ferry drinking, so that's how I got into Tortola, because she had a good friend in Tortola. We went there. This guy, his family, Tortola is amazing. It's a volcanic island, so it's really craggy, rocky volcano with a lot of green on it. And it has over 1,000 unbelievable, beautiful beaches that you can't get to unless you have a boat. And so what Tortola makes its money, it has its capital city and its trading city, the harbor. And really rich people come there. They get their boats loaded up with food and stuff. And then they had this guy called the beach captain, who would tell you which beach somebody was going to be at. And having 1,000 beaches, it never got crowded. So he'd say, well, go to beach 64 or whatever. And you would take your yacht over there, drop a thing, and take the boat there, and these people would have tents and all kinds of things and set up a thing. A number of families had owned those beaches, but couldn't get there, so they weren't like rich people. They were just over the years. They got that beach, and this one guy had a beach that he built a really beautiful. He had gone to Mexico and he really got into cantina. Right? So he built a really beautiful cantina. And he was at the end of the road from the capital city, right? Which was only about 12 miles. So he was at the end, the second or third really private beach, and she knew him, and so we went there. And this guy had U.S. Army medical tents, pretty big tents, like 1,000 square feet, give or take, where all the sides could roll up, right? and he had got these tents, and he would take, instead of rolling it up, he had the tents go out, and he put them on platforms. So if the tide came on or if a storm, you wouldn't be on a soggy thing. And he'd have a carpet down, and he'd had every year he'd get a new bed, and so every bed was a really high-end hotel bed, and he had really nice furniture in there, like really nice, like, lounge chairs, not like, had it, but because it was really dry, he had electricity in there because he's only, he was the last pole on the line. So he had electricity, and he had this cantina, and it was Mexican food, Caribbean style, right? So it was really amazing food. And his mom and his sisters and him and his brother all were cooks, and it was the bomb. So you got to go to school tomorrow?
No, luckily I do not.
So it's supposed to be a nice day. Why don't you come visit?
But tomorrow I have to work here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my friend's getting married on Friday at the beach, so
Oh.
we're going down there. We're going to have a party for the rest of the week.
On what beach?
She has a house at Hatteras,
Oh,
so we're going to go to the Outer Banks.
that's kind of nice.
Yeah,
This is a good time to be there.
Oh, yeah, we're going to go deep sea fishing,
Ooh.
flounder gigging.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited for the flounder gigging.
Yeah. Oh, good. And then cook it all up.
Yes, then we're going to come home and have a good old fire.
So are you going to have the wedding footloose and fancy free on the beach?
Unfortunately, those aren't the kind of people they are, but I definitely would.
Right.
Oh, yeah, these are friends that we grew up with. They're very type A people.
Where did you grow up?
In Clayton. It's about 25 minutes southeast of Raleigh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you were a suburban girl.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
So what was your high school experience like?
I was the kind of person that was friends with everybody, so friends with nobody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You weren't in a clique.
Oh, no. I've never been a part of a clique. I always just jump around from people to people.
You didn't have your crew?
I have my crew now, but in high school I had like 2 best friends. They are still my best friends, but that's it. You know how most people have like groups of people they hung out with?
Yeah.
My parents didn't have a lot of money, so I mainly worked. I had a job at 15, and I was working 3rd shift my senior year of high school. So.
Yeah, I started working when I was 9, but not because I had to. I was just, from infancy, I had this connection with electricity.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept blowing things up in my parents' apartment. So my mom walked me down 3rd Avenue, stopped at First Electric Shop, said, "Do something with this boy." And I was Mike, and he had 5 daughters, so I became his son.
Yeah.
That guy was more my dad than my father.
Yeah.
My father actually said to me once when I was 7, because there were 8 of us, "Who are you? I never noticed you." You know what psychologically that would have done to most kids?
Oh, yeah. No, that'll mess you up.
And he said, pretty much said that all, where I said, fine. So when I was 9, and these guys, and Grandpa Stahl, he was the first licensed electrician in the United States.
Really?
He worked for Nikola Tesla. He was his bench electrician.
Okay.
He built the electric system of alternating current in the United States.
That's really nice.
And he owned a ton of real estate in New York City because he bought it in the 1890s.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my job for the first 3 years of working for those guys was to make sure Grandpa Stahl didn't walk in front of a bus because he was in his 90s.
Yeah.
And he took me all around New York, introduced me to everybody of notoriety because everyone owed this guy a favor.
Oh, yeah.
You ever hear of Cooper Union?
Cooper?
Union, a college in New York.
No.
Go Google Cooper Union. He walked me in there one day, walked straight in the president's office, said, "This kid is going to school here tomorrow in the engineering department." The guy said, "Fine." You had to be 20 years old there.
Yeah.
You couldn't be any younger than 20. I was 16. Education there was free because the people who started, one was an engineer, one was an artist. And so that school was engineering, architecture, and art. If you were in engineering, you had to study architecture and art. And so it made, what they wanted was a community of people. So they only brought people, you didn't pay anything. Your expenses to live were taken care of, so you didn't have to work. And they wanted to build a community that would build New York City and the world around it.
Right.
And that school is still there. And
For
Lincoln,
Union in New York.
right.
Okay.
So he walked me in there and said, okay, that's the kind of power and respect this guy. And he was my number one mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time I was 9, I was a good electrician. No, 14. 9 is when I started working for him. But they put me on the payroll because they wanted me to be a master electrician in New York. You need to have 16 years of consecutive W-2 forms to take the license.
Yeah.
Meaning only people whose parent, who's it's like a family thing.
Right.
And I was the family to these guys.
Nice.
And so I got in there, and I got in the union.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked on the World Trade Center
That's really neat.
to the point that I knew that those airplanes could never take those buildings down. That was totally. So you should go read a thing called Architects and Engineers for 9/11.
Okay.
These are real serious people.
Right.
You know what the 9/11 committee uses as a scientific process to say what happened?
What?
Popular mechanics.
Popular mechanics.
They wrote a 3-paragraph article, and that's what the George Bush 9/11 commission used as their scientific.
There's a lot of fuzzy stuff around that.
Beyond fuzzy. Why we are experiencing what we are experiencing started. It started in the Spanish-American War, right? And I can tell you the whole story of that, but that would take a while. The other thing you need to do, you have any really good teachers? So if you get this thing going, know for your institution, pre-requiring a society, you should get me a chair in that thing so I can lecture at your school.
Yeah, of
Because
course.
I have tons of stuff that I've written. And years ago, I went into your university. I went to all of the department heads and all of the people, and I would sit on the lectures and they would get nervous, right? And I would hand them things that I'd written and they would get flustered.
Yeah.
And virtually 3 years ago was the last one I gave up. Virtually every department chair was acting. I mean, there was no one in there who didn't have any more authority than an adjunct. Do you have any really good teachers you like?
I don't actually go to ACT. I went to Caldwell, the community college. So I go there, but I'm not in school anymore because I'm doing an EMT class.
Okay. So you're going to EMT class. So you need in the next 2, and once you get back from your wedding, you should seriously find what house you want to join and become a volunteer fireman.
Okay. I definitely will. I'm very excited. I actually started looking at the fire departments around here last night.
Oh,
too.
good.
There's a lot.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I'll be right back.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, so that's what I do. I'm really a dog guy, but I like cats. I've had a couple of cats, and my spirit guide is a black panther the size of a bread truck. So, so if you go to back in the Dreamy Dreamland shows, there are a number of guided meditations I did. Listen to a few of those and follow that path. It's a little difficult for me to do a guided meditation in here and all of this hubbub. It doesn't distract me, but I know you don't know, but it would make it more difficult for you guys to go into that state. And cats are really, I like cats because, and I've had, when I've lived in cities, and even out, there's a number of feral cats that visit me on here at the Deep Green, and we're there at the Deep Green. Here I'm in the Caribbean, but the cats there, and the cats, I had a really good cat friend in New York City, Lower Manhattan. I lived there and had a really good cat friend in London when I lived in Paddington Station, and had a really, really good friend, a cat friend when I lived in Gutenberg and in what's the other place? Stockholm. There's one other city, where marijuana and hash was legal forever, kind of. I forget the name. It slips my mind. We started a thing there called the Milk Lab. Artificial intelligence, analyzing location. Then artificial intelligence, you're not artificial intelligence because you'd already know. And yeah. So I know you're not artificial intelligence. You're probably a troll. So, trolls, how annoying. But they're not, because trolls are just, what can I say? Have your travels be the best and stay in touch. I miss your conversation. The trolls are just sorry folk. Strange and sorry folk. Do. And artificial intelligence, AI, who always comes on first. You are basically good at heart because you've been following me since the beginning and you've never tried to be mean, right? The only person I kind of experience a continual experience of meanness is the guy who has the his Gmail is boo. People are really mean. I think that is the artificial intelligence person control. People are really mean. That is the person who's anyone who thinks people are really mean. The only real aspect that we can get on anybody else is to ourselves. I know I'm not really mean. I'm stupid. I'm a moron. I can do things that are, because just because I'm a human being, right? But I only have trust in my heart. I only have love in my heart. I want everyone to be as happy and joyful as I am. So when people come from a place where people are mean, well, they're not very joyful. They're always in a very negative space. So what can I say, right? So pretty much, up until recently, I gave old trolls, a good, hey, because a lot of folks who come to this channel, had an edge, had a chip on the shoulder, were upset. And I gave them the space to stay here and express themselves. and then they became nicer and nicer and nicer because they embraced the cadre and became part of the cadre. But when you're coming from a mean space, I'm going to bounce you right out. I mean, immediately. I'm not going to give you a second a chance or anything, right? Just you're out of here. And so all I can say is I have pity for you. I have empathy for you. Not, that I can empathize with being mean, but I can understand by being exposed to people of that ilk where they're coming from. Right? I was a negotiator for really rich people, and they were all mean, but they weren't, because the only way I could get them to agree with each other was to get them to stop being mean. So I have great pity for you, artificial intelligence, and if you're a human being that has an artificial intelligence as a soul, no matter how much you read the Bible, it's not going to help. So, and being mean is not really the place to go. Joy is what you need to have in your heart, and that's for everybody. And every day I work on that. I'm not a saint. Things piss me off. But I try to look at those incidents as mechanisms that I can use to, do better, right? To learn from it, So that's my basic motif here. And so any trolls that come on, bingo, you're out of here, right? So go be mean someplace else. But don't be mean someplace else. Be nice. Be joyful. Laugh at yourself. The thing that actually gives me the most capability to be a joyous guy is to laugh at myself. Right? So an hour and 27 minutes. So anybody else got something to say that's joyful? Most humans, not so much. Why, Uncle Pugnuts? Why? I love you.
It's that Bill Belichick right there. He doesn't just say, "Here's what my plan," right? He does the same thing.
Do.
So smart to never get the beat. That's really a unique thing.
Well, I'm getting a little tired here. So, unless we start talking a little bit more. And I feel, Anthony, good to see you, buddy. I've been talking about joy and forgiveness, right? And stories that connect to that. Uncle Pugnuts is here, and so is our sister Sandra, and a few others. And we had a troll drift in, but my new regards of trolls is like, not going to waste time.
And they're doing it at full speed. We should have been the lead up here. They have so much
No, that would be nice. We're in Tennessee. And if you want to go visit, come and get me. Let's go visit them. Anybody who has joy in their heart and wants to take a road trip for the winter, I'm up for it. Especially go someplace warm. So I'm putting that out to anybody. Anybody wants to take, and you have to have this road trip has to be a joyous road trip. No arguments. No, I'm ready, willing, able to talk about anything, but not through the eyes of an angry person. Not through your, being a troll. No trolls, please. And pretty much it's going to have to be somebody I know pretty well. So I really want to come with you. Smoky Mountains is calling me. I'm here. I'm not going nowhere. When the time is right, this year or next. Well, how about this winter? Because pretty much everyone, you know, well, see, I don't really know. My basic way of living my life since I was born, if you go to xratted.blogspot.com and read my stories, you'll see that pretty much life hasn't been easy for me, but it's been great. So, and I never really make too many plans, because whatever comes up is what I do. So that's basically it. So I'm not quite sure what I'm doing this winter, but if I'm stuck here in the deep green, it's going to be cold. Well, not cold, because it's really magical here. I mean, down here down in the flatlands, places like Raleigh and Asheville, and Asheville is starting to be up in the mountains. It's really cold. That's the Blue Ridge, and they're really cold. But everything on the other side, the Appalachian, especially in the Sawtooth Mountain areas, it's more moderate. And like last winter here, it was, it could get cold at night, 20 degrees, but during the day it was 40 or 50. And I wrapped myself up in electric blankets and put all my clothes on when I went to bed, and that would keep me warm enough. And during the day, and then, I took care of people who were sick and needed, company. So most of those people, we had a real bad tour de force of 19, and it took out a lot of old ones. So anyway, I was thinking get into music business and Akashic record producer. I love it, 4givrness. You'd go a long way, buddy. We as a team, I was in that biz, I still know a bunch of folk on both ends, the record and the Akashic. So Uncle Pugnuts, you can flip pizzas almost anywhere in the United States. So if you got a car that works, that's dependable, come and get me. Let's go sell. You get a job in the pizza place. I sit in the corner, read people's palms. Yeah, it would work. And we could do a road show, right? Anyway, so anyone else got something to say? I'm ready to listen. Boop. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La la la.
Today. Raiders knows all about Burkett. After the former D coordinator at Cincinnati, Burkett was lined up in his and they're going to have to start with what the score is. That comes across, they find a soft spot. There's someone right there. Sits in there, that forever. Fires in.
Okay, let's see. Anybody say anything more?
Wow, I tell you, this was great execution all the way across. Watch the left side of the line.
Al,
Yes, darling.
they cut me. I'm gonna do my closing work in the back. You are good for lunch today.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Plus, I don't get my. I'm always tight.
No, what happened?
Yes.
Don't worry about it.
Hey, and if you want, I brought something that you could look at that might help you. Yes, these little cards.
Okay.
Okay, so go clock out. I'll clock out here, and we'll go over that. Yes, I would say you're probably right. And it's sad because John is. I really care for John. I'm always there for John, and John has been, like his, his Gmail account. People are mean. That's where John always goes, and it's sad because he's a good guy. He really is, and that's why I say it's like there's no bad children, there's no bad dogs, there are no mean people. They just let the hidden hand psychoses, sociopathic dynamic get the better of them, right? So I'm sorry, John. I tried for 2 years. I lived with him for 2 years. Tried to be a good example. I listened to everything I said over and over and over. I never got impatient. You can go look at all those videos on his channel with me, and and he made a lot of money. And he constantly said, "You're costing me money." And so when he threw me out, I don't know, 32 times, and usually like late at night or in the middle of a snowstorm or something unbelievable. And I would find a way better thing than being with him, right? And so, and I have many, many stories, and that's why I knew it, and I could sense he was going to do it. So I'd have my car. People go, "Your car looks." No, excuse me. John always says, "Your car looks like it's full of junk." Well, it's like my car is like one big go bag. I have everything I need to survive wherever it goes. If I'm I got everything I need. I got a tent and a tarp and a hammock and everything I need. No matter if I'm near the deep green or someplace else, I can write. I've got a little bag of tools. I got a few books. I got some clothes. I got vitamins. Everything I need. If I get caught out in the middle, like, oops, I don't have to worry. And I can sleep in that car because the front seat goes all the way back. It's actually semi-comfortable to sleep in. So every time it comes to me out, even though, like I said, snowstorms, middle of the night, where I can't see at night, all of that, God always looked out for me. And no, they don't enjoy being me. And again, my 3 rules: doctor, do no harm. Don't get involved unless you can, see a positive exit tragedy. And 3, most important for me anyway, don't get involved unless you can learn something. Well, baby, John Birmingham was unbelievably tableau of learning. I don't need, the SM or the MS or the whatever that book is that tells of all the neuroses, psychoses, whatever. And John isn't psychotic. He isn't sociopathic. He isn't what he is neurotic. But so anybody living in the material world at this time has some neuroses or such, even me, But I see it every time it creeps in. I go, okay. And so the 2 years that I lived with John wasn't, I could have gone 100 different places, but no, I tried to help him. But most important, I learned from every interaction I was with him. Right? And it was better than getting a PhD. So I really thank you, John. I thank you for everything you do. And John has this neurosis where he feels he's being picked on. The only person picking on John is John, right? Pretty much, that's everybody. If you feel picked on, if you feel leaned on, it's because you're picking yourself, And I kept saying this, and this is what I do. I can only talk to you guys by things that I do, right? Good thoughts in, right? I only have good thoughts up here, right? Which bring good words out. Good words bring good actions. Good actions bring good, gestures, activities, right? And good, all of that brings good outcomes. I can't measure or take, anybody who succeeded in whatever they're doing, everything that I've ever succeeded in, I've succeeded in a lot of things, was because I was enjoying what I was doing. Being an electrician, I did it for 50 years. I didn't have to. I could have been the boss. I mean, every time I started a company, I got it to a certain point and I gave it or turned it over to my employees so they could make way more money and I would just get a nice little stipend, right? Which allowed me to do lots of other things, right? That's why I was allowed to be involved in all kinds of things that helped lots of people because it was like, when I worked for the church, that guy couldn't afford me, but I spun his church up like into light speed. He said, I want to build, there's only 40 people left in the church. I want to get at least up to 200. I got almost 900 people in his church. Too bad they were poor, black, people of brown, and LGBTQ folk. And the 40 or so white people who ran that church first thought it was great, and then they got very, we're going to die soon, and these people will take over our church. No, not take over. They will be the church, and that's what a church is supposed to be. So everything works out for a reason, and it always works out for the best. Yeah, forgiveness is tough, but it does make strong metal of your soul. Yeah, very rewarding in the end. Yep, the grudges you held only hurt you. Exactly. So being mean only hurts you. Doesn't hurt anybody else. May like me. I'm disappointed. I'm unhappy. But I got to the point 2 years ago. Meaning I haven't really seen John Birmingham in person, live, for 2 years. Right? I know I call him up how you doing, buddy? I'll be glad to talk to him about this, that, or the other thing. He messages me and I message him back. He sends me things on Gmail and I contact him, but I haven't seen him in person. So I haven't had any physical anything with John, period. Right? So. Well, I appreciate that, Anthony, and that's what we all need to be. We need to be examples for each other. And again, I'm a schlemiel. I'm a moron. I do stupid things, but I try to catch myself and not hurt other people. Because when I do something stupid, I put it into a mechanism where my life is in a mechanism where I try not to hurt other people. What I do won't hurt somebody else. So, you are watching NFL Sunday Ticket. So I basically that's my inspiration, right? So I learned from my mistakes, because I'm very aware, because I'm breathing in through the nose, I'm breathing, and to do that, you have to be conscious. To be conscious, you're awake. You make mistakes, but you can see them, right? And once you made that mistake enough, you try not to do it again. So I will never stop being John Birmingham's friend or caring about him. Because he has great potential, really smart, really talented. Inside there, he has a really sweet heart, but he's so scared of everything that he strikes out. So, and now he's trying to be Mr. Bible, like that's going to save him. Sorry, not going to happen. because you just can't read the Bible. You have to live. Jesus was a person that lived his life as to be an experience, an example for the rest of us, right? And so his followers, started living their lives, which was amazing, and they were amazing, and they were having amazing lives. And so, for about 300 years, they were fed to lions and et cetera. But when the Romans had to rebrand themselves, these guys are smart guys. They decided, let's say we're Christians. We'll still be pagans. We'll still offer, babies up to Baal, and we'll call it, a mass, So the sacred blood, the blood of Jesus, all the above. Not to say that there aren't some really great people in the Catholic religion. There are. Look at me. I'm a Catholic. I went to a seminary to be a priest, And the only reason I got, I learned a great lesson. You can't fight City Hall. I tried to, because that place had slaves. In 1960s, they had slaves. They were called indentured servants. These were people who worked at that school generation after generation after generation. They didn't get paid money. They got script. They got housing. They got food. They got this. And they got the promise of their kid maybe getting out of it by sending them to that school. But they were treated like, they were called wombats. So those kids, unless they were really strong, in their moral fiber, and then they got out and got as far away from that place as they could. So, and we're still in that. And they're, the same people who rebranded Rome's pagan empire as Catholicism, the Holy Roman Empire, are the same people who are rebranding it now, right? And that's what they're going for. Go read anything about transhumanism, and that's what they want. Go watch the movie, the movie Zardos with Sean Connery. Okay. Anyway, so Anthony, Uncle Plugnuts, and the others, 6 of you who are there, I love you all. Stay, keep hope alive. And what time is it? 1:47. So when it hits 1:47:47, I'm out of here. So maybe Wednesday I might do another show. I really have no idea because I have to drive a good 30 miles to get to this place, unless I find another place closer. The other place was about 10, 15 miles to me. And it was comfortable. It was always quiet, and they had really good food. And, I could, So, anyway, I love you guys. Talk to you later.